There's a lot of stuff going on with the Utah Jazz, and so I think it is only right of me to go ahead and capitalize on all the great content that they're giving me to talk about and just to discuss amongst the fan base, just because I believe that they're about to have an amazing season that really puts another small market team, similar to how the Bucks were before they had Giannis, just on the map and in the eyes of in front of everybody as a true basketball team to be reckoned with. With that being said, I think that we do need to call attention to the fact that we did miss out on Jrue Holiday. I personally predicted him to go to Boston, but in that same vein, it made the most sense to me to assume that it was also likely that he could potentially go to the Utah Jazz. Thanks for tuning into the video. As always, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. Make sure to like the videos so that the algorithm knows to push the content out to more viewers. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this one. Boston obviously ended up offering the biggest package, being 2 first-round picks, Time Lord, along with Malcolm Brogdon, and it seems like they're about to try and flip Malcolm Brogdon again. I could see them trying to flip Time Lord, though he does seem to be on a similar timeline, perhaps not quite to, maybe not with Scoot Henderson, but with Anfernee Simons being slightly older than him. I believe that it is reasonable to assume that they might want to keep him for that reason. Malcolm Brogdon still has obviously some good value as far as providing a scoring punch to a team in need, particularly from a contender standpoint. But even if that trade doesn't go through, they still got a solid haul for Jrue Holiday. Understanding that, I really felt like Jrue Holiday would fit in really well with the Utah Jazz, just because for one, it would probably involve trading away 1 or 2 of the young guards that are currently on the roster, and perhaps a draft pick, but there are many draft picks to spare that the Utah Jazz have. But it would also just provide a guaranteed starter at the point guard position that would be just blatant clarity for the team, instead of mixing and matching, as I believe that they will obviously end up going to do at the very least at the start of the season and before the trade deadline, should they not get rid of any players and make any interesting moves from a standpoint of just guards specifically. But he's also been to the top of the mountain and he's won. He's been to the NBA Finals. He played with Giannis. He won the finals. And while he doesn't play terrific on the offensive side of the ball in the playoffs, he is still a stellar defender, which there is something important to take note of from that experience. Understanding that, he would obviously bolster the defense that really only Chris Dunn has for the Jazz from that point guard position. And when you think of how big and lanky the starting lineup could be for the Jazz, he would have fit in so well. He would also have the opportunity to take Keontae George under his wing and really just show him the ropes of the league, show him what it takes to be not just a good NBA player on the offensive side of the ball, but to be a stellar defender that takes no matchup for granted. That being said, he did end up picking the most advantageous position for himself, and obviously he got sent from the Trailblazers, who are a rebuilding team, to a contender in Boston that rivals his original team, being the Bucks. And in some people's eyes, it's either a 2-man race in the conference finals between those 2 teams to go to the finals, or Boston, by picking up Jrue Holiday, is now bolstered to the point where they can comfortably handle the Bucks. Myself personally, because I haven't seen them be able to stop Giannis for an entire series, I'm still leaning towards the Bucks, combined with the fact that they obviously added one of the most prolific scorers in the league, even in his early 30s, as far as Damian Lillard goes. It's still a force to be reckoned with, and probably the greatest combination of a 1-2 punch the NBA has ever seen, simply from a what they did before they played together standpoint. That being said, with Will Hardy going into his 2nd season as the head coach and Danny Ainge obviously being the CEO for this team, originally being with the Boston Celtics, ironically enough, it is a slightly missed opportunity that really would have pushed the timeline ahead just a little bit for the Utah Jazz. But I'm not the most worried that I've ever been about their ability to find another veteran point guard that could provide similar help. The only thing that kind of is a bummer is the fact that it was almost as though Jrue Holiday was tailor-made for a team like the Utah Jazz. He obviously is a veteran in the league. He plays terrific defense. He is a great playmaker. He doesn't have a lot of turnovers. And while his three-point shot is a little bit shaky at times, it is significantly better and more adjusted by comparison to where he was earlier on in his career, which makes him invaluable to many teams, which again is why Boston was willing to trade 2 significant role players and 2 first-round draft picks for him. That being said, I would like to see the Utah Jazz go for another veteran. I would be understanding if they decided not to, however, simply off the strength of the fact that they do have a stable of horses that they can really just pick their poison on any given night. And maybe you do think that you could get something valuable for a player like Colin Sexton or Talen Horton-Tucker, especially since their contracts are about to expire. Or you decide that you're going to mix and match, pick and pop, just decide what you want to do as the season goes on. And because you have such a strong stable, even if somebody gets hurt, your season isn't entirely over, and you're not just going from looking at a 5th or 6th or 7th seed in the playoffs to looking at a high lottery pick. I just feel as though, even though we love to appreciate the great things that front offices do, it's also equally important to focus on things that didn't go so well. Either the cards just didn't go in that front office's favor, or just blunders that happened along the way. And while I wouldn't say this was a blunder, obviously, clearly, Danny Ainge didn't feel that Jrue Holiday was valued at 2 role players plus 2 first-round draft picks, which is understandable. And the Jazz definitely had the opportunity to do that, and they decided not to match it or not to up the ante so that they can make sure they get him. In light of this, I would like to trust in Will Hardy and trust in that front office and believe that this team and this roster of players that have been put together and this culmination of just talent from the guard standpoint and from a forward standpoint will allow the Jazz to have a solid season going forward. But with that being said, go ahead and like the video so that the algorithm knows to push it out to more viewers. Go ahead and comment your thoughts down below. Subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and without any further ado, good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning into this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.